y'all. We are on the Recyard podcast. I'm Marci Marie.
I'm Toonche.
Toonche, you busted out the Taylor Swift hoodie already.
I mean, I warned all of you that it was going to make another appearance, probably many, many times.
You looked so sharp our first episode. I was really proud of you.
Well, how quickly I let you down.
It just happens all the time.
It's just one right after the other.
We're talking about Copaganda.
Dun, dun, dun.
Have you heard that term?
Yeah.
I've just more recently heard that term. And I heard it because I was sitting with my kid in San Marcos, Texas, in his apartment, watching back-to-back old school episodes of Law and Order SUV. And because he's a fan. Like he likes to go back and watch those older episodes of all kinds of shows. Anyways, we're watching, and I'm like watching them slam the suspects up against the wall and slap them in the interrogation room. And I'm just talking cash money shit. Like, what the hell? Do you see? This is why you can't trust police. And this is why. And you see, this is on TV. That's why people think this is okay. And Austin's like, oh, I see, I can't watch a show with you. But that series, it's Copaganda.
So I'm going to tell you something that you're going to be really, again, just continuing that thread of disappointment, is that you're going to be a little disappointed in me. Now, I don't watch Law and Order anymore because I have other things available to me. But, in prison, there were long marathons of Law and Order. I believe in its 27th season or something like that. So, it was on TNT, it was on TBS, or I think it was mainly TNT, and it would just be one after the other. And that was a thing in there that we all watched. And, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Olivia Benson, she's a strong, powerful female character. That's why I watched it. And she was extremely... God. I hope people zoned in on that. I really hope that somebody's going to make a viral clip of you.
Well, I should have done this before we started.
Well, if anybody is just listening, Marci has done some really inappropriate things with the mic.
I'm just trying to get it.
Because it's phallic.
I'm trying to get it positioned properly.
Get it together.
Okay, but go back to Olivia Benson.
So
Still hot, by the way.
Extremely.
And I will say this, they are doing an excellent job on their social media.
Yeah.
And that is all her.
Yeah. And, we, connection to Taylor Swift, one of her cats' name is Olivia, because she also loves Law and Order. So highly problematic. And also, I still felt like it was a powerful female lead that carried her own in a very male-dominated, situation. But this is the power of media and art to shape society's understandings and ideas about criminal justice.
Yeah, still a hot, powerful femme lead and still Copaganda.
I mean, two things can be true at once. So now I think the more I understood, which is interesting, right? Because we've talked about this before, that even in prison, we still were brainwashed, even though we had experienced all these incredible injustices in the criminal justice system. We still had this belief that, well, this is just how it is, right? Like, this is how, I mean, I always use the example of, and I'm going to bring her up probably more than once through the years, is Casey Anthony's trial, and watching women just completely lose their mind that she was found not guilty. Right, because they still had this belief about criminal justice, even though they themselves had experienced injustices.
Because in Law and Order, there's never anybody that they suspect that's not the person. Once they zone in on that person, we're consistently watching them zone in on a suspect, miraculously do DNA testing in 30 seconds, and convict someone inside of an hour. And so that has trained our brains to believe that people are not innocent until proven guilty and that cops get it right all the time.
Yeah.
They don't get it right all the time.
Well, I will tell you, I remember there was an episode, and it kind of made me paranoid, but it was, I felt like it was a reality that they were showing, is that I don't remember. They were looking for someone, and there was a fingerprint on something. I think it was a photograph, and they ran the fingerprint, and it came back to somebody that had a background, a criminal background. And so they locate where the film was processed at, back in the day. That people did that. They processed their film like at CVS or something like that. And they go, and the guy behind the counter is like, yeah, I work here. My fingerprints would be on it. And they are suspicious. They're like, oh, did you know this person? Blah. He was like, no. And they were like, oh, it just happened to be that one of the fingerprints on the evidence was somebody that had a criminal background. And once they did like you're saying, a very trite, quick, oh, it's not him. Well, no, I feel like in the real world, no, they'd have kept hammering away and so it's made me very paranoid touching things. Like, oh, is this going to end up at some crime scene that, I've drank out of a bottle of water and thrown it in the trash? And I mean, that's a terrible way to live, but I think there was some reality to that they tried to touch, but then made it very almost, I don't want to say Disney, but very like, oh, well, they figured it out really quickly.
It wasn't a big deal. It didn't just instill trauma on him, and he wasn't just drugged back into a police station, into an interrogation room.
You. Bye.
Right.
Like,
no.
They're not going to give that up that easily. And yeah, we don't see what happens to the person that...
He probably lost his job. Yeah. Getting yanked out of work.
Could have been a whole nother series.
The Our Photo booth shut down.
He lost his job. The cops came in questioning, and maybe his manager hired him knowing he had a background, but they were like, don't tell anybody.
So now the manager's fired.
Yep.
And now that company will never, ever consider hiring
I know people that has happened.
You know people that hired somebody with a felony background.
And something happened.
Golly.
Yeah. Something happened. I'm just going to be honest. This really happened. I'm not going to use names. A friend of mine, two people I knew that I had done time with at Riverside. Well, one of them gets out. She has a lot of family support, and she starts working as a manager at a chain, a company that's a chain. And she hired somebody that we knew and that they were friends to work in the vet clinic. Okay?
Somebody else with a background.
Yes.
Okay.
And so she went ahead and hired them. I don't know if they technically passed, because some applications will say, have you been convicted in so many years? But there was a little wiggle room that she, as the manager, was like, don't worry about it. Everything's going smoothly. Well, her girlfriend on the inside, ex-girlfriend, fall partners. Fall partner means the person you did your offense with. Absolutely hate each other. And the person on the inside was
mad
and
jealous.
Deeply vindictive. You probably know what I'm talking about. So they're at work one day, and some suits come in from corporate. They go straight to that clinic. Is so and so here? She's like, well, hi, that's me. They're like, get your stuff, get out. Where's the manager? And named her. Who hired this person? Well, I did. You can get your stuff and get out too.
I know who you're talking about.
Yes. And
she has a book.
And so they both lost their jobs. And it was because someone called corporate and pressured them because their offense was a bit of a higher profile. But yeah, it was like something happened that normally, wouldn't have happened. But say it could have been the police. Maybe, what if the place had gotten robbed and the cops showed up and asked questions like, hey, you have a background? This was kind of a little thing between the two of them and somebody that was, hey, I'm going to give you a chance, even though she did understand because she'd been there before. But like, no questions asked, get out.
Golly.
So Law and Order, you did not really represent that moment well because their manager's just not going to be like, oh, it's all good. You had cops coming in here asking if you committed this murder. No, we don't want that smoke. Get out.
Okay, but it's not just Law and Order, and it shows like Chicago PD, and I've got y'all know Chicago PD. I have notes because some shit happened in Chicago. Chicago City Council unanimously approved a $90 million payout to settle 176 lawsuits involving 180 people who were wrongfully convicted in the city of Chicago. The scandal revolves around ex-Sergeant Ronald Watts and his unit accused of planning drugs, falsifying reports, and extorting residents, especially in Black communities. Imagine that. Yeah. In the Well Housing Project is what it said. So poor communities or communities needing assistance.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's because we grow up, and you've said this many times, you grow up with this idea that, when we're in elementary school, the protect and serve and peace and the friendly police officer and the friendly firemen and like they're public servants, which that's the way it's supposed to be, right? And then you experience or you get older and you see that that's just not true. And a huge part of that mythology is the media that you're consuming.
Copaganda.
It's all the TV shows and the literature that's ever presented this. It's a myth, right? Like the American myth of freedom and,
And so, and I'll say the disclaimer, not all cops, not all correction staff, not all men, but enough police officers have made it. I did see a meme somewhere at some point that said, if you just do your job, people won't hate you. Nobody says, fuck the fire department. And so I think that there are real issues behind that. And that knowing that the media is trying to shift us one way, we have to be vigilant and mindful that police can lie to you, detectives can lie to you.
Yeah.
That, they have a goal to solve something, and there are some that don't mind if you're innocent or not. And I don't know. I mean, just telling all my kids, you're not allowed, don't talk to the police, don't answer questions. Got my little second grade nephew. If a police officer ever tries to ask you questions, you tell them you're not allowed to unless your parents or your aunts are there.
Yeah.
And he says, oh, but not the officer at my school, right? Especially the officer at your school, because that's where you would get in trouble at.
Well, honey, I don't think a lot of people do know. You watch all these documentaries about false confessions, and by the way, they just solved. I do air quotes because I think it's weird that they've now solved the yogurt shop murders in Austin, which was a big deal in Austin, Texas, because they, wrongfully convicted these teenage boys that were outsiders, and now the DNA is linked to some serial killer. I don't know, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. I just think you've had that DNA and you've had, I don't know. I need to know more information. I don't want to talk out my ass about it. But
there you are.
But there I am talking out my ass about it. It is interesting that a lot of people don't know that the law can lie to you in interrogations. They can straight up lie to you. And people don't know that. And I've mentioned too before on the show that when I was a teenager and I'm getting interrogated, I just did whatever they asked me to, and I kept asking to see my brother, and they told me, your brother's called several times. My brother at the time was then 18 or 19. He was of age to be an adult. He's been calling, and you'll be allowed to talk to him once you give us a statement. I didn't know. I was 15. Because if my brother got to me before that, he would have said, be quiet.
He would have told you not to talk to the police.
Because then everything I said, thinking that I'm being helpful because the police are here to help me because this thing has happened, was completely not the way it was used or intended. And they lied to me and had no qualms about it. And people do not realize because but what is weird to me, Marci, is because people that watch Copaganda shows, they see them lying to suspects. I don't know where the disconnect is then. So while that type of media and those type of TV shows are kind of still upholding this law and order and we're the good guys thing, they're still showing the ways that they don't do things correctly.
Well, because in those shows, the person they're lying to is guilty. And so general society is looking at that person like a criminal, the bad guy.
So whatever
clearly
needs
good
to
versus
happen.
evil.
Mhm.
Right. Clearly labeled. And so, yeah, then all of a sudden it's whatever. It's whatever to get to the right answer. And so there's no problem with that. And that's been happening. That's happening, I'm sure, in the new episodes. Brand new season's out.
I can even go a little further back and say when I was little, now it's going to age me.
If you say Starsky and Hutch.
No, I'm going to say Cagney and Lacey.
Oh, yes. Cagney and Lacey.
Cagney and Lacey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I am a sucker for good, strong female characters that I'm waiting for hot action to happen.
But there was still misogyny in that.
It
just
was.
like you just said.
What?
Just like you just shot out misogyny.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second, though, because that can be a whole nother discussion one day. Women can have. Wait a minute.
No, say women can sexualize other women and it's not an issue.
I think it's different than when men do. And I'm not, because I don't believe I'm sexualizing other women, and I don't think that's the same in communities of women. It's there is a group consensus around what is appropriate among the group of women. Does that make sense?
Okay, and in prison, that's a little more raw. I don't think out here you can just say, I see these two strong characters. I'm waiting for some hot action. In prison, our community, yes, we say things like that, totally acceptable. Out here, misogynistic.
Because I think if other women hear that from another woman, they understand that what other women are looking for, that is like, I'm waiting for the hot action, is not that they're objects, not that they're sexual objects, but because this is expressing an experience that we don't get to see elsewhere, that there is a connection there that I'm waiting to happen. I'm not seeing them as sexual objects. It may sound that way because this is the only terminology that we currently have been brainwashed with. But it's like, I'm waiting not for the hot action between two sex objects. I'm waiting for the hot action between people that I identify with to validate my experience. Do you see the difference?
Okay, fair.
Okay.
Fair.
Go ahead. See?
Partially forgiven.
Okay. All right.
Fair. Yeah, but yeah, Cagney and Lacey still did. It was still fed into the patriarchy in a lot of ways.
Sure.
I mean, there were some key moments where they did not, and we have a whole crowd listening to us that don't know who the heck we're talking about.
No, I'm going to tell you something, because our demographics
are us.
As they begin to grow, though, our current demographics are women our age or older.
But so there were times when they did not get heard or listened to because they were women. And so that show did identify that as a challenge. But it also very much, there was a lot of that kind of stuff in there.
God, I loved Cagney and Lacey, though. I love the Law and Order TikToks, though. I just don't watch the show anymore because I can't watch. I just can't. Watching people get handcuffed and slammed and police culture. I just, when I got out, y'all, she could be watching. Here we go again. Jennifer just busting people out. Someone I was deeply infatuated with, I would venture to say in love with, when I was living in Houston. She was a social worker. She was getting her degree in social work. And she was very much of, I think, our vibe now, right? Like, really caring for people in community and thinking that, policing's not the answer. Community is the answer. I get out, and she has gone through the police camp. She's caught now.
Golly.
And I finally saw her for the first time in many years. Gosh, I guess it'd been 12 years or something like that. And I mean, my heart, like when I saw her face and to hear her voice, it just was like, oh my God. And then she started talking, and she is not the same person. And so we met for coffee, and she was telling me about her life and her job, which is a hard one, but totally
Different world.
different world. And I remember her, talking about, I am different. I know that when I pull people over, I'm like, I'm not one of those cops, and like you said, not all, it's the systems, right? It's not the human beings. The systems change the human beings that are in it. And she was like, they shouldn't be, like I tell them, and like this very almost naive. And I'm like, okay, but do you understand what has happened to me over my life with people in law enforcement? And we talked about the incident that I got arrested for, that, she was in my life at the time. And I said, honey, they whooped my ass, right? Like they beat me. Oh, no, that's not what we're trained to do. I said, what part of this are you not hearing? And I said, well, that was my experience. And so she tells me about her job, and, we parted ways. And I mean, I don't really talk to her. Every once in a while, I'll send her a text hello or something, but her mind is completely different. Her whole being is different. And it was shocking to me.
I'm not surprised. And I have one of my first boyfriends ever in life is now an FBI agent, which is wild. And it's that sometimes this realization hits, and we chat and keep up just a little bit, but sometimes that realization hits that your friend group is completely different than my people. Like he spends times with his coworkers, and it's a whole different language, whole different view. Sometimes I'll make a post, especially surrounding juvenile justice, and he'll say, oh no, some of them kids have to be locked up.
Oh, God.
And I'll just have to ignore them for several months and then come back. And yeah.
It's a total brainwash. And I mean, I don't know what other word to use,
It's the same way with correction staff when you would see officers that would come in their first several months looking at us like we're humans, talking, just saying things normal, doing your job, but saying things like, I don't know, good morning. And then as the time goes by, you just see their eyes kind of gloss over and they're kind of lost in the sauce. Not all, but enough.
Well, because again, the system, I remember, when I was talking to her before we met up for coffee, we had some conversations about where, her career choice now. And she was like, well, because I'm going to change the system.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, honey, that's not how that works. The system changes you. Now, I think there can be people in systems that resist it as much as possible and do make effective change. I've seen that with people that work in the Texas prison system, which I want to say are women. But it's more than likely that the system, you are going to become the system. And she has. And I still think that she's a great person and a smart person. I just wish she would have stayed in the social work field and not gone into policing, because it did change her. She was harder. She was kind of not open, really, like talking to her and seeing, like, well, there are things that police do that are just wrong, that's why the community has suspicion. Oh, no, that's not our intent. Oh, you're not listening.
Right. Intent and action. I mean, people do a lot of things that aren't the intent, but they've still done them.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
So no more Law and Order. I just check the thirst traps that she posts on her own personal page. Yeah, they have good TikTok.
Yeah. Their social media manager is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they're getting paid what they deserve.
Yeah. And, I am a little partial because Taylor's one of her cats is named Olivia Benson.
So I hope y'all don't think that, like, we were just hating on the police this whole episode.
Marci wants to make the disclaimer, as we're all being surveillanced.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, valid. Valid. We're being watched and talking about it in a very public way. But enough, right? Enough. And 176 lawsuits in the city of Chicago. I don't think that all of those are wrong.
Well, I mean, because the reason why those things happen is because the power goes unchecked, and also because whatever red flags are happening kind of get brushed aside because this idea, this myth about law and order and shows like Law and Order and Copaganda, it's like, no, they're doing what's right. Like, I can't fathom that this would be, inappropriate or wrong or illegal because, this is what we're here for. And so they don't get the oversight needed because there is still this internal belief even within the system that no, like my friend, the refusal to really look at like, something ain't right here. No, we're doing a great job. Nobody could possibly be doing things that are illegal or wrong.
There was a show that I watched before I got locked up on FX called The Shield.
Mm-hmm.
And they were dirty cops.
Mm-hmm.
But still, they never got it wrong with the bad guy.
Right.
And still, there was justification behind all the... And the dirtiness was mostly stealing, like, drugs to sell and make money and having this side business so you have all this income. I don't think all the cops were dirty. But it was still, in a sense, Copaganda.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one time having that discussion with another close friend about, it was one of the death penalty cases here in Texas, about, well, he might be innocent of this, but this is just catching up to him because he's a bad person and he's done all this other stuff, in his past that maybe he didn't get fully prosecuted for or whatever. And I said, so the means justifies the end? I said, well, what happens when it's your kid? Right? Like, so at what point, and I think we'll probably explore that in the future of that, like, well, actually, we know that you haven't even done anything yet. And we're going to do any means necessary to prevent you from doing something.
On a death penalty case?
Uh-huh.
Well, he didn't do this, but he's probably done enough other stuff.
So
to be murdered?
Whatever tactics that the cops had to use, because it is what you're speaking to, is that in those shows, in those depictions, yeah, like they're doing all the dirty stuff and all the things that are inappropriate or whatever. Olivia Benson's partner beats the crap out of somebody in an interrogation room and he finally admits it. Like, yeah, it justified it. And it's like, yeah, but what about if you're wrong, right?
Right.
Oh, well, that wouldn't happen.
We're at time, Toonche.
All right. Well,
we're
talking about that for a while.
So y'all tell us what you think about Copaganda and leave the comments, leave the voice notes, and on our live, we'll share them with everybody.
Yeah, I want to know which one of y'all are watching these cop shows. Which one are your favorites and why? And have you ever thought about this stuff before, about the way it subconsciously changes your mind about policing?
Do all the things, hit all the buttons, y'all. Like, share, all those things. We're so glad that you hung out with us today, and we will see you soon. Thanks for joining us on the Rec Yard. Make sure and subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss another rec turnout.